So you're here at Oxford. Thank you so much. At the Journal of Investment Management Oxford-EDHEC conference on retirement. Last night at dinner, you talked about a couple of innovations that you think could be profitably harnessed in order to address some of these retirement issues. Could you briefly give, the viewers some sense of those two innovations that you talked about?
Sure. As I mentioned to you earlier in the interview, the bounds are, you either work longer or accept a lower consumption. Now, in the saving process, and I'm saying for the vast majority of people in the country, here in the UK and elsewhere. So I'm talking about what I would call working and middle class people. They are, of course, very poor, that have to be dealt with in a different way. And the relatively affluent, they'll be fine. So I'm talking about the vast bulk of people in the working and middle class. And we know here in the UK, in the United States, in Germany, Holland, but by the way, also in many developing countries, Chile, etc. Okay, that the single largest personal saving outside of the retirement accounts that the typical family has is their house. And in fact, it's the only saving of any material amount they have. So that's the saving behavior. The funding of retirement, government, like Social Security, employer plans, personal saving. Few people believe that government benefits are going up. We know employer benefits are going down. That's why they got out all the plans they did. They're not increasing benefits. So just to sustain even the benefits we have now and not take account of this, the only thing left is personal saving. To change personal saving behavior, from the masses, including us, but the masses, is a very long and difficult task to undertake. And so, particularly when you tell people that means their standard of living is going down.
Absolutely.
So, when I say it's not practical, I say you either have, if you want to see the effects anytime in the next decade of material amount, you either have to make it mandatory, much higher saving, which is many countries have done. Whether that's politically feasible or the wise thing, I'll leave open. The alternative is to take the saving behavior now, which is the house, recognize that that's the biggest asset they have, even bigger than their pension in value at retirement, and ask the question, can we get more benefits from the assets we have, rather than try to save more and get more assets, or work longer and therefore not have as many years to pay for, reduce what we need to consume.
But it's not necessarily an either or. You could increase savings and...
Oh yes, in fact, reality is we're going to use them all.
Sure.
People are probably going to save more, they're probably going to work longer, and we're going to need this as well.
Right. So
but this is a very important piece because the beauty of this is, one, that it uses the assets they already have. It's practical because it doesn't require a saving period. Now, what are the things that can do this? There's really two that are big enough. The one that involves the house is called a reverse mortgage. Here in the UK, it's called, I think, equity release. In Korea, it's called home pension. I like home pension. It's my favorite name. But they're all the same, and they have the following feature. If you have a house, when you retire, you can go and borrow money on the house, on this mortgage. Yeah, it sounds like except it has two very important features. When you borrow the money, there's an interest rate you're supposed to pay, but you pay no interest and you pay no principal off. You don't pay any of the mortgage. You make no payments for as long as you live in the house. The second is that whatever payments are due when you leave the house, the only asset that supports those promises is the house. It's what's called non-recourse.
Right.
So the beauty of that is I can tell a retiree with a clear mind that if you take this money from the house, this reverse mortgage, and times are tough, and you maybe not be able to make a mortgage payment, no one will ever throw you out of the house, which is not true if you take a regular loan. So I feel very comfortable in saying you're not really taking that kind of risk. The non-recourse actually makes it simple for them to think about, well, I may have some children, I might want to leave them some. What if the house is not, doesn't, is worth, and I leave them with this debt, and they take everything out of my estate, and what I was going to leave them, they don't get anything. What I do is say, non-recourse means the house. And yet, if the house goes way up in value, your beneficiaries will get that too. So it's a way of extracting money. And the way to think of it is the house, while it looks very simple, we all live in them, is actually a somewhat very subtle contract, a security for a retiree. Because while you're living in the house, it's providing you a very large percentage of your consumption because you own a house, okay? Maybe between 25 and 30%. It's the house you want to live in. Most of us become very, we pick the house we want to live in.
Right.
And because we're retired, we don't have to move. We don't have to change jobs or anything. So this is where we want to live, and it's paying for it. So it's like an annuity in that sense. It's like a pension, but instead of paying you in pounds, it pays you in housing service. And it's a perfect hedge for you because it's the place you want to be.
Right.
So absolutely, that's what you want to have. That's why you shouldn't sell your house and then go rent something because then now you're taking risk. But someday, you're not going to need the house. You're going to go someplace much better where we don't need money or houses. But the house will still have value, clearly. Then, in some sense, for the moment, abstracting from any beneficiaries, children, or gift to Oxford, but if abstract from any bequest, whatever you leave was wasted. Because you left this house, suppose you had no one to leave it to, you have wealth that you never used.
Right.
So if you think of it, this is a way by extracting that value, the value when you don't need it, and getting it now through the mortgage so you can use it to pay for your retirement. Or if you have children waiting, your grown children, who are waiting for a bequest of the house, you say, how about I take the mortgage and give the money to them now when they could really use it? When my grandchildren are 9 and 11 years old, things of that sort. And so the purpose here is to move the value of the house that you don't need back to help you to live better when you do need. It uses the same asset, that's the key. The other one like that is the annuity, and you're probably more familiar with this, or a pension. But with the annuity, it's if you have this money, including the money from this mortgage, I can give the money, and instead of just getting the interest on it, I'll get paid much more than the interest for as long as I live, even if I live to 120, as all the good books wish us. Okay. Whereas if I just keep the money and earn interest or something, I can only live on the interest because I don't know how long I'm going to have to live for. So the annuity, by doing what? Putting the money in, pays me more when I need it for as long as I need it, if I even live to 120. But when I don't need it anymore, because again, I've gone to a better place where I don't need money or house, then I give it up. To me, those are both very fundamental tools to allow greater, materially greater retirement benefits out of the same assets without really incurring or imposing material risks on the retiree. And